profile interview segment this week, I spoke with the Director General of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. He spoke on different issues as it affects the organized private sector, especially when it comes to the issue of ease of doing business in the country, unemployment in the country, and why it's of utmost importance for the value-added tax not to be increased. Take a listen. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
A lot has been happening in the organized private sector, and one issue that is of utmost concern for many business owners is the issue of the proposed increase in value-added tax. Yes. What is NECA's position on this? Well,
the news about increase in value-added tax was as a result of a statement made by the chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service suggesting that increase. Our position as NECA is basically informed by reality. Number one, we have also looked at the implication on the purchasing power of Nigerian workers, especially as it affects the issue of the new minimum wage that has just been passed by the two chambers of a National Assembly, which we believe is aimed at improving their purchasing power as well as improving their living standard. And if government is actually doing this, which is commendable, we believe government should not, in another breath, give by one hand, by the right hand, and withdraw with the other hand. And that was why we had advised that government should actually be cautious. The second one is from business perspective. As employers of labor and organized businesses, businesses are naturally for making profits, apart from the secondary issue of contributing to the society, of giving back to the society. And if that is so, it naturally means that if there's an increase in VAT, manufacturers or organized businesses will naturally pass the cost, the increased cost of doing business to consumers. In which case, the cost of doing business will increase. It will impact on the purchasing capacity of consumers, as well as increase the cost of goods and services as well. And the effect is basically on the masses that this particular federal government has promised to improve their lot. So that's why we said this is not the right time for government to tinker with increasing value-added tax. Rather, government should focus on expanding the tax net to capture those who are not currently compliant with all the tax laws, so that they can generate more revenue through it.
Okay, so when you say that the government should expand the tax net, what are your expectations in terms of doing that?
Well, what I simply meant is that it's been said, it's arguably said, that less than 30% of both corporate and individual Nigerians that are supposed to be paying taxes are compliant. So over 60% of the other tax paying Nigerians that are supposed to be paying taxes in Nigeria, government should just go all out to make sure that they are captured. Rather than increasing taxation, once you are able to capture this in the tax net, it increases your inflow with regards to tax. In fact, beyond what will be generated from value-added tax or any other form of tax increase, which basically will still be a burden on those few that are compliant.
You're representing the employers of labor in Nigeria.
Yes.
And there are so many challenges that most businesses are actually faced with at the moment.
Absolutely.
How easy is it for an employer of labor in the country to do business in 2019?
Well, we are only hopeful that things will improve and that the results of the various interventions of the federal government with regards to ease of doing business through the PEBEC initiative in the office of the Vice President is going to manifest into positive outcomes in 2019. And I must also commend the initiative of the Vice President and the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, as well as the PEBEC office for the different interventions, the executive orders, which are targeted at improving the ease of doing business. However, one thing that needs to be done is not just to make policies, but to implement and follow it through to ensure that all agencies of government and organs of government that are supposed to ensure that it works actually key into that vision and make it work. With regards to our expectation in 2019 with regards to ease of doing business, we are collaborating with government. NECA, for one, is presently reviewing all past intervention, and we are carrying out a survey to support government with regards to how the interventions in 2018 had impacted on their businesses, so that we can give a direct feedback to government on the impact of ease of doing business. It will also help government to deepen its intervention and to also review all its activities to ensure that they are able to improve on whatever interventions they made in time past. So we only hope it could be better.
Now that the National Assembly has actually passed the minimum wage and the Senate also has actually complied and have submitted their report to the president of the country, what is NECA doing to ensure that the organized private sector actually conform with the new national minimum wage?
There are two perspectives with regards to this. From the very beginning, even in the course of the meetings of the tripartite committee on the minimum wage fixing, we had reiterated the commitment of the organized private sector to implement to the letter the outcome of the recommendations of the tripartite committee on national minimum wage. Having said that, the other leg of it is the fact that the 30,000 naira that has been approved, which we believe the president will assent to, we know that quite a substantial percentage of organized businesses, I'm not talking of informal sector now, organized businesses are already paying up to, and in some instances higher than that, in which case they need not implement. It does not apply to them. But for as many companies as are paying below 30,000 naira, we have their commitment to implement immediately. It is signed into law, and we are very sure of the effective date.
How would you rate the presidency's economic policy?
Well, so far so good. After the recession, the response, the economic responses, the economic policy responses of government is commendable, especially with regards to the ERGP, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. It's commendable, and we believe that if government can sustain the implementation, because one of our problems in Nigeria is not that we don't have policies, but sustenance of policies. In time past, we've had laudable policies that have suffered reversal or policy somersault. Our urge to this government is to sustain this policy, because systematically they've been very sincere in implementing and committed to implementation. Sustenance of it will give us the medium-term results that is desirable. Besides that, government had also made several commitments and intervention with regards to the economy. The several policies and interventions of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Ministry of Finance, even the custom services reforms, to ensure that they support businesses, local businesses, to grow. And these are commendable, but like I said, sustenance of these policies are very important. And finally, there is the need for government to consistently get feedback on their performance with regards to the economy, and also to get feedback on how these economic policies impact on businesses. And that, through the quarterly business forum at the presidency, is serving the purpose. This also needs to be sustained, as well as create other opportunity to receive feedback, like the survey I just mentioned that we are carrying out in NECA. Create such opportunities to receive feedback so that at least we can be their mirror to give them feedback on how they are doing and what they need to do more to continue to deepen our economic growth.
Finally, what will be your expectations from President Muhammadu Buhari? Because he's been re-elected into office, the organized private sector will definitely have their expectations. What are the specific things you want him to do?
I will say two things. There are several, but two are very germane. The president should be people-focused. In other words, the welfare of Nigerians, irrespective of class and status, should be important to him. In other words, it should not just be political or ruling class that should be beneficiaries of his second term. Think of the masses who sacrificed and voted you into office. And of course, he's president of all Nigerians, whether we voted for him or not. We should all be beneficiaries of the goodwill that has taken him into office. The second, which is most important, agenda that I think the president should, if he's not going to achieve any other thing in these 4 years that he has been given, if he can fix the power sector and make it productive like the telecom that President Obasanjo achieved, posterity will remember him for good, because it has chains of added value. It permeates every aspect of our economy. And even both micro and small scale or medium enterprises, as well as the multinationals and the big companies, are beneficiaries as well. Even domestic households are beneficiaries of this. If we can get the power sector right, definitely it will have multiplier effect on every facet of our life in Nigeria.
It was an interesting conversation I had with you.
Thanks. You're welcome.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.